Good afternoon, friends. So, last class we were going through a lot of concepts about network. We were talking about activities. We talked about work break structure. In fact, one of your friends who's actually not here, he is working on a similar line with me. We were talking about what was known as product breakdown structure, PBS also. Okay, so today the way we are discrete, making it smaller, we are making it more discrete, we are making it more, what shall I say, it is more, we try to comprehend the objective to a very small or to micro level, to the level that we want to micromanage things. And there are a lot of benefits in doing it. The biggest benefit is we are not going to waste any time at any point of, I mean, like any given thing, because we know exactly what is required and when it is required. So basically, here I am in today's lecture. We are going to go through one of the projects with which I was associated with. So it also means that I will not be able to share the presentation, nor will I be able to share the video of this. And I hope that this is something that makes you think big. Okay, this is something which I loved to do. This was, but the photographs which I'm showing are not part of the actual project. It was on a similar project, and we'll speak about it a little more as we go there. Basically, these are the three types of contracts which you come across: turnkey or EPC contract, where everything from end to end is done. If you are going to buy a flat, typically you go into the flat and then you are occupying the flat and starting your life. Okay, and so this is what we'll mean by a turnkey. If you are staying in the hostel, how many of you think about like a lot of other things, like whether I should buy a bed, whether the fan I should buy or air conditioner I have to install? How many of you will be thinking about that? Normally you don't, right? So this is what we mean by saying turnkey thing. Right? You just go turn the key and it's working for you fine, or in fact it will work great. So then we have grouped contracts where we group a certain group of items and then we use that for the contract. And then individual trade contract, like for example only for electrification or doing the flooring or stuff like that, we have some contracts. Okay, and now this is what we'll define as project management. Okay, and if you have a contract, we have to successfully finish the contract. That is the main thing. That is the only objective with which you work. Okay, so these are some of the activities we go through. We have engineering, we've got procurement. Just 1 minute, I'll just use my mouse. Yeah, so we have engineering, procurement. You'll be doing a manpower estimate. Okay, you'll be doing a manpower estimate. Then you will also have to get equipment estimate. Okay, and you'll have to secure your permissions in a timely manner. Now we'll just break down this portion a little more. We'll try to get a little more idea on this. Now if you look at any project which you are going to take, first and foremost there is engineering. What is engineering? Okay, how many of your engineering graduates to be? Yeah, what are you going to do as an engineering graduate? Did you think of that when you joined VIT? I'm quite vocal in my questions because I'm not putting it on record. But yeah, what do you do as an engineer? What is that you do in engineering? What is the difference between a BSc graduate and a BTech or a BE engineer, BE graduate? I'm BE. Well, all of you are getting BTech, I guess. So engineering is nothing but your applied science. Engineering is nothing but your applied science. Okay, so what are the sciences that you are applying currently in your rest of the course? This construction management is more like culmination of all the things which you have seen. We are going to put it together and say yes, I'm going to do an engineering project. Okay, so what are the things you have done? See, for instance, the mechanics which you did, first order lever, your Newton's laws, all of them was done in your structural analysis, right? Okay, or your engineering mechanics was an extension of what you already learned. Then your fluid mechanics, Pascal's law and all these things were done in your school level, right? This is now being applied in your for your hydraulics and so many other things. So this is what we are. This is why we are different. We are trying to apply the principles of science, and civil engineers in particular, we try to do it for the benefit of humanity at large. So engineering will mean that you apply all your scientific principles and get something done. You got the second thing, procurement. What is procurement? Procurement is getting your stuff. Okay, I'll again use ICS because that's happening now. ICS, we are buying so many things like your folders and tags and everything. So there is a life cycle. Okay, there's a life cycle for everything. There's a life cycle, like when you can order so that you can get it in a timely manner. I think we spoke about it last. Then we got manpower estimates. Okay, so how many people are required to do a job effectively, how many people you can do away with to be also effective. Now for instance, how many of you have heard of the term pink slip? It's very common in it was very common in the IT industry some 4 maybe 3 years ago. It's a layoff. Okay, they'll just say, okay, you will be given 3 months salary, please go out. It also happens a lot in many of the construction companies. Please remember Gammon, which sent home many of the engineers because they couldn't pay in the Chennai Metro project. Okay, so this can happen in anything where somebody feels he has got too much of manpower to pay, too much of benefits which he has to give. So even this also goes with your equipment estimate. So both of these, if it is wrongly done, you're going to wind up paying much more than what is due. Every equipment that you hire, be it a crane, be it a simple, anything which is simple also, if you are buying too many of the fiberglass pans which the laborers are going to use, that is also a cost which is being incurred by your company or which is being incurred by your site. Okay, so then you got to do the permissions have to be got in a timely manner. Okay, what are the permissions you feel which is required for a project? If you're building a house, you have to get approval from the local body. Like Panchayat approval, you heard of that? Your patta has to be all approved, and so many things are there which have to be registered before you can construct your house. So this is what we mean by the securing of timely permissions. Many times, many people feel, okay, I'll start construction and then I'll get the permissions. But many times, many of the people are not able to get the permissions, and this is leaving many of the buyers at a loss. Okay, all the other things, I hope that you are going to understand just by reading it, but if you are having any specific point you'd like me to address, you please tell me. Okay, now why do we need all these done? What is the relationship between the network diagram which we were talking about yesterday? What is the relationship with the WBS and all that? In your network, we were telling that you need to allocate activities. Okay, you need to allocate activities, and you also need to allocate resources for the activities. What are the resources that you allocate to an activity? First thing you'll allocate is manpower. Okay, first resource that you'll have to allocate is manpower. Who will do it? If something goes wrong, whom shall I blame? First point. Okay, then you will be saying, that man will say, I need so many excavators, I need so many bulldozers. That man's boss will say, I when I was to 1947 when I did it one. Why do you want 10? So this sort of argument will happen because the top man wants to reduce the cost. The one in below, he wants to ensure that the job is done. He wants to have some cushion. So this is what we come to the second part. Okay, the manpower and equipment thing. So once you are able to estimate this, your network diagram is fully in place. Now, why do you think we are talking about all of this at this point in construction management? Okay, let me put it another way. Okay, now let's see. Now, as budding engineers, how are you going to know how many people are required for a job? What kind of equipment is required for a job? Or how long it will take to do something? Okay, project management softwares. Okay, okay, I'll just put it in a different thing. Like, even in Primavera, you need to allocate resource and you have to tell what is the time it will take. See, you saw that box last time. There was an activity, there was a start time, a finish time, and we told that we kept a duration. Actually, if you know start time and finish time, you can calculate duration. Or if you know the start time and duration, you can calculate the finish time, right? Now, how are you going to calculate duration? 10 people, okay, 10 people can carry maybe this podium or this table very easily and much faster than what 5 people can do, probably, or 6 people. If it is only 2 people, so they'll be carrying and moving so slowly, right? 10 people may even be able to run carrying this table. This is what happens in any construction site. If you're having brickwork, one person can do, say, for example, 900 mm wall, around, say, around 20 meters. Okay, 20 meters, one man can do in 8 hours to 900 mm height with probably 2 or 3 helpers. So if suppose I'm going to increase this by 2, 2 skilled masons and 6 unskilled people will be able to do 20 meters of wall 900 mm high in how many days? In half a day. Correct? So this duration depends on the type of resource which you allocate and the type of manpower and all the other things which you have. Okay, so this is why we need to understand what is called as the productivity. Productivity is the amount of work a person or an equipment can do in a given period of time. For your case, okay, in a place where you don't have any idea as to how much a man can do, we have what is known as the guideline value which is given in CPWD manual of works. They say how much one man can do, so what should be the duration and all these things. So many other things are there which come into picture. Please remember, it also depends on productivity depends on which level you're working. If you're working at the 10th floor, the productivity need not be the same as what you're having in the ground floor for certain activities, because there's an additional time involved in carrying the material. Additional safety requirements would mean that he cannot move as fast as he was moving on the ground floor. So these are all things which come into picture. And if you are doing a quantity surveying, okay, if you go to any construction company and you do your quantity surveying, you'll find that the quantities are made according to the lift. Okay, whether it's going to go to the 10th floor or whether you're going 5 meters below or 10 meters below the ground. Okay, so I'm going to go fast. Okay, so these are the places where engineering management is being done at every point. Okay, and basically the object is to make a profit. Okay, so once you know how much material you require, we go for what is known as procurement. You should be able to procure in a very economical manner. You should reduce the chance of pilferage. Pilferage is stealing. If you're having 100 bags of cement, somebody is quite sure to carry 1 or 2 bags home. Okay, so how are you going to prevent that? And all these things is what is the challenge of procurement. We will come to this procurement and its challenges when we look at the stores. Okay, for now I'm just rushing past these things because this will make a lot of sense when you go for the stores and its management. So and also this also I'll go through. I mean, I'm not going through at this time. It will probably make much more sense during the stores. So basically, when you are going to do the manpower and equipment estimate, you should be in a position to say when something is going to be done, who is going to do it, and also we'll also know what are the additional resources which it requires. Only when you have all these things in hand, you can actually put it in Primavera or MS Project. Okay, so if you open the MS Project screen, you'll actually have some resource. Okay, the resource can be anything. Then they'll say how long, what is the unit cost of the resource. That means if I'm going to, yeah, here in the assignment, many people have given salary as 70,000. Okay, 70,000 per month. So 70,000 rupees, if suppose I'm paying per month, what is the salary per day? 300. 2,300 approximately you need to pay. Okay, so that means the cost of this resource is 2,300 rupees. Okay, now the company is suddenly facing a crisis. Okay, so you are having manpower skilled, cost 2,300 per unit. Another resource is there, which is 1000 rupees per unit. Which one will you prefer? 2300 or 1000? See, unfortunately, this is a sad truth. Unfortunately, this is a sad truth. And if you are working also, many times you will find that you will be asking this question to the people down the line. Okay, what are you going to do? You are saying 1000 rupees. This is going to be done by this to the same quality and all that by another resource for 1000 rupees. Even if that fellow takes 2 days to finish the job, he's still cheaper. Got it? Still 300 rupees cheaper. This man may be very efficient, he does it in 1 day, but the other fellow is going to take 2 days. But however, end of the day, the same work is going to get done, same quality. So now what is happening? You are starting to choose between one resource to another. So this is what you will be doing actually when you're doing a project plan. When you're doing a project plan, you'll see this excavator can do so much, but the maintenance cost is this much. Which one shall I choose? This is the productivity of this excavator model. This is the productivity of the other excavator model. So if I take three of such cranes, for instance, to lift something, I can do the work effectively. Do I take three cranes or do I take two bigger cranes? So all these sort of choices are going to be done by you. So when you take a resource, you will also know the cost which is allocated or associated with it. You will also know the amount of time that resource takes to work. If suppose you are having a big boss, okay, he'll have always a secretary with him running behind him to do the notes and everything. On the other hand, if you are having a junior person, you will save the money on the secretary. So this is what we mean by the associated cost. If you are hiring a resource, if you are hiring a very big crane and then you find that to maintain the boom of the crane you need two small cranes. Have you seen the cranes are usually transported in parts? You'll go to the site and then you assemble it. To assemble a big crane, if you need two other small cranes, what is the point in taking a very big crane? So these are the choices which you'll have to do. So these are some of the things which you actually go around. Okay, it helps you. Whatever we've been talking about helps you to forecast the resource which you need. You try to choose the best resource which will be possible to be used in your given cost. Okay, then you also know the expenditure and payment schedule. Okay, you know when you are going to pay a barbender, for how many days you need to pay barbenders, how many barbenders are you going to pay. So these are some of the things which you get. Okay, then you'll also know how many members are required. Staffing requirement and level of staffing means how many site engineers you require, how many supervisors you require, how many, for example, down the line if you go, how many barbenders you require and masons, etc. So how and when you require. It's no point or no fun in getting a barbender the day when excavation is or ground clearing is happening. So you need to find when you are going to require a resource. Then you'll also have to provide information to the government. For instance, your labor, if suppose your labor inspector comes and says, he has to know how many people are working there. Today's newspaper carried an article, Hindu carried an article on slave labor in one of the brick kilns. Okay, so one of the man is telling the pregnant woman was made to work. Okay, so now this whatever labor rule which you studied, you will know it's not saying a pregnant woman should not work. However, there is a period of time when you are not expected to make her work. So only if you are what shall I say, if you are aware of that rule, you'll be doing it. But it doesn't mean I'm not trying to justify that person running the clean. What I'm trying to say is, as engineers, this is a statutory requirement that you have to follow. Okay, so when the labor inspector comes and says how many women are working, how many children are there in your site, how many men are working, what is the age, are you paying them, how much you are paying them, all this you have to have records. Okay, so if suppose you are carrying too many people, unnecessary people, your cost is going to go up. I'm going to take a short break here. We've seen quite a lot of stuff in this lecture about the requirements of a project in terms of manpower and I mean in basically or very broadly putting in terms of resources. Do any of you have any point you'd like to share? At the most, like don't take too long, 3 minutes or 4 minutes you can take. If you want to have anything to share, you're welcome to share, please.